It was the same stink but different day for the Twins offense as they got nothing going. 3 hits total in a 4-2 loss to the Dodgers. We'll have a full breakdown of it and get you ready for Game 2 against the Dodgers. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. And while you're doing that, head on over to Mr. Dave Brown, who is at Answer Dave Brown on the tweets. Give him a follow. We got to get him up to 1,000. Hey, what's up, man?
Give me 2 follows. That way it'll happen twice as fast.
I think actually that is a follow and then an unfollow. So maybe counterproductive, but I can't say for sure. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Also on YouTube, saying hi to you on YouTube, making sure we're waving and shaking hands and kissing babies and all that good stuff. And thank you for hanging out with us in the chat. We love to hear from you. Even if you say that our show is not for you, we still love to know that you gave us a shot. So thank you so much. Give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe button, hit there, all that good stuff. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Dave, Twins fall 4-2 to the Dodgers. That in and of itself, not that shameful. This is a pretty good Dodger team, but the road to that, probably a little more painful for Twins fans. But again, this Dodgers team's pretty dang good.
Yeah, only 3 hits allowed by Dodger pitchers, including James Paxton, who I think we might have mentioned would have made a good addition to the Twins if we're into dinging the front office for something tonight.
Sure.
When you only get 3 hits, you're not going to, and a walk, that's not going to produce much offense. And the Twins bullpen, which has been so good, if not certainly not overused, but I'd only given up 3 earned runs coming into tonight. But, we've talked about how they do have a lot of depth, but still this is kind of the first game where the players who were hurt, you'd think, maybe it would have been a Thielbar night and a Duran night and other players like that. Maybe Brock Stewart would have got in instead of some of the guys who did. And this is really the first time where that's kind of come up, where the bullpen depth was a factor, I think, in this game, at least in the middle part when the Dodgers got their runs.
Twins fall to 3-5. Dodgers 9-4 after a much earlier start to their season. So they're already 13 games in. Meanwhile, the Twins only 8. Just 3 hits for the Twins. Shohei Ohtani himself had 3. And if you're wondering how it could be framed differently, the Twins had 3 hits in 30 at-bats. They hit 100 in this game. 6 straight wins for the Dodgers at Target Field. And since 2014, the Dodgers have won 13 of 14 against the Twins. That is the best record in any head-to-head series among any teams over that time frame. So
that's no way to get revenge for the 65 or 6 World Series, whatever it was. 65.
No, it's the opposite because they're not getting any revenge. But it is the new Yankees, basically. Twins being stymied by the Dodgers. I had thought, you know what? Paxton was good. I put should have signed him in my notes, but I kind of looked at the layout of what he did, and I think he just basically tunneled the Twins to death. It was fastballs up and knuckle curves down, and if your fastball stays up and you can make your knuckle curve come out of that same tunnel and drop, honestly, that's all you need. Twins struck out only 7 times, which is shocking because the Twins, I'm told, strike out far too much. And let's be honest, in the last 2 games they have. But with that said, it was just contact, and the Dodgers made all the plays.
Tunneling worked in the Great Escape, the war movie, and it worked tonight for Paxton. He's not fancy. He doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he knows what he's doing up there. You talked about, you kind of hinted at some of the pluses, not striking out so much. That's good. Probably the biggest, well, there's two big things. First, Bailey Ober's demise has been kind of exaggerated after the Royals got to him in the first series of the season.
Yep.
He was tremendous. Only went 5 innings, and with the top of the order coming up, I understand why Rocco went to the bullpen. Ohtani had hit a couple of rockets against him anyway, and that all didn't work out. I remember as an old person, if not old school, I remember when you kind of got on a roll like Ober did. You kept him in, and more often than not, though, that would turn out to be a mistake, because the third time through the order is not necessarily a charm for most pitchers, and so I'm not going to ding Rocco for that too much, even though it didn't work out. But Ober was great. Byron Buxton made a tremendous vintage Byron Buxton play on defense and made another nice catch too. So those are really important things that happened that are good, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention them.
Yeah, not a great outing for Steven Okert. Double to left by Shohei Ohtani. So all the worry about what Ohtani would have done to Ober a third time, he basically just did it to Okert instead.
That's a good hitting. When you go Apotaco,
Well, this was the double. So, but back-to-back play appearances where he had incredible approach to drive the ball to left. It shouldn't be lost on anybody that they showed the graphic of his plate coverage and slugging percentage within the strike zone. And I think the lowest one was like 700, and it was right down the middle. So, I mean,
it was very red.
Yeah, it had a case of the red ass, to say the least. But Okert, so double, single, Will Smith single. And by that point, things are looking pretty dicey. Maximum Muncy flies out to right, and then the Teoscar Hernandez at bat was the liner to Buxton, which looked like vintage Buxton, as noted. And the game could have blown apart there. I mean, if Teoscar's ball lands, that's a double. You have, let's see, Freddie Freeman from second, Will Smith from catcher running. Yeah, you probably would have had a runner on third, but it would have been another run and, one fewer out, obviously. So you still would have had one out in the inning. I mean, it could have really blown up from there. So again, it's hard to really adequately state what that play meant, because the average fan's going to be like, well, you still lost, so who cares? But keeping it close so that you at least had chances to win the game down the stretch, it matters in the grand scheme of things, even if it didn't result in a win in this one.
Buxton's reaction was almost as good as the play itself. Sometimes we say, act like you've been there before. And that's not what Buxton did this time. Buxton acted like, oh, yeah, I can still do that. I remember this from before. And it was a great, he was pumping himself up. He was very excited that he made the play. And it didn't lead to anything huge in the game in terms of, the Twins weren't able to win the game, like you said.
Yep.
But as far as, maybe Buxton hadn't done anything spectacular since the Kansas City series, early in the KC series. So some people were wondering, well, is he banged up already or whatever? And that's a great play, and it bodes well for the future when, he's going to make a play like that, and it's going to be the difference in a victory. So that's one thing. That's another ingredient that the Twins are going to need. Buxton flying around on defense. So that's upside. I know sometimes maybe it sounds like we're doing PR for the team, but really there's a lot of negativity on the internet. I don't know if you knew that, but it's 3-5 is not a great record, but it's I don't think you're gonna extrapolate 30-50 out of 3-5.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world as we know it. Let's take a pause and leave you with a message from Game Time. When we come back, I want to talk numbers with this offense, and it's not pretty. But again, first, a word from Game Time. And so our friends at Game Time are the place to be if you need tickets Go to gametime.co, or you should really go to the app. But if you don't want to use the app, gametime.co. Make sure you go there. If you're looking for tickets for an upcoming Twins-Dodgers game, there's a couple more to go. In fact, my across-the-street neighbor is a Dodgers fan. They just moved in a couple months ago, big Dodgers fan, and so we've been having some fun talking about that. He said he's going to be at all 3 games, but if he didn't have tickets, I'd be telling him to go to Game Time as well, because it's so easy on the Game Time app. Couple taps, and you've got your tickets. You can do all-in pricing where you toggle that feature on, and it tells you your price fully all in up front, none of that bait and switch on the back end where you're paying for fees that don't make any sense to you, and they pop up after you already have kind of settled on an amount. The lowest ticket price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere in the same row and section. And purchases covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the industry. And also, I like seat views. You get a panoramic view of where you're going to be sitting, so you have a pretty good idea of what you're going to be looking at and where you're going to be looking at it from. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply, but that's code FIRSTPITCH for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. So you got a little less than a week to get in on this action. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave, I have all kinds of offensive data to hit you with. Are you ready?
I suppose. I mean, yes.
The hardest hit balls of the night were Ohtani's homer and double, which, again, not surprising. And then the next 2 were Manuel Margot singling and homering. I'm not saying my Manuel Margot opening day takes aged well. You know, it's not like
well, they aged better than they're aging better than they started, because you said he hit a home run on opening day, and it's not anymore opening day. I'm looking at my watch, but
not even
better late than never.
Yeah, but it did show finally some life. I know Twins fans, as goofy as it sounds, were starting to turn on the idea that he was even in the lineup. And, you know, people still not cool with these matchups and all that. But again, it comes down to execution. And if you don't execute,
if
it doesn't matter.
platooning is good enough for Sparky Anderson, it's good enough for the Twins.
Yeah, exactly. Dodgers had 6 hits with under 90 miles per hour exit velo. So of their 10 total hits, 60% were below. Ohtani accounting for a lot of theirs above that. It's an offense, though, that is still so difficult. Even if the bottom third is Gavin Lux, who's struggling, James Outman, who had been struggling, did homer in this one. And then whoever's batting ninth, Taylor Trammell tonight, former top prospect, who's kind of kicked around with, I think, the Reds and the Mariners and a few other places, whatever.
You got it, baby. That's where he's kicked around.
Exactly. So 7, 8, 9, well, you know, you're not going to scare the pants off anybody. But 1 through 6, I mean, not an easy out in the bunch.
No, Will Smith hit a dunker out to right field, but you know, when you take a full swing, sometimes good things happen. I like Margot hitting the ball hard, like you said. He also tried another one of those bunts. So I think he's with the Dodgers for about 3.5 hours in the offseason, and he wanted to show them tonight exactly what they were missing. So he wanted to have one of those complete games where he hit a home run and he hit a line drive and he wanted to bunt, like, you know, he's like Jackie Robinson was out there or something. And it's okay. Maybe the bunting will keep the defense on its toes or in between or something like that. And but I just kind of wish he'd just hack for now.
Well, especially when he's in there for matchups like that. But yeah, he wasn't even a Dodger as long as the Sunday night baseball game between the Yankees and Red Sox. So, yeah, old Joe Morgan and John Miller. I grew up with that, and man, I miss it because that was the good stuff. But some more data here. So, Twins take the lead on the Margot home run in the 3rd. Buxton has a single in the 4th to open the inning. Twins go 0 for 18 the rest of the way with 5 strikeouts. You can talk about their woes with runners in scoring position, but they were 0 for 2. They just didn't have runners in scoring position. They stranded 2 runners on the night. That's just
guys. I know how we can do better with runners in scoring position. We just won't get any.
Yep.
And then you can't make it out with runners in scoring position if you don't have anybody on base.
I'm not sure about this terminology, but is this quiet quitting?
It might be.
Okay.
And when you're not going well, you're going to try odd things. You're going to bunt if you're Manuel Margot. You're going to stick your head in the way of a throw to first if you're Justin Morneau. That was one of my favorite comments tonight.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, why don't you just get hit with a ball and don't slide, and then maybe the throw can't be completed." Justin, do whatever you have to win the game, but just protect the old noggin, I would say.
Yeah, especially based on how Morneau's career went.
Maybe he doesn't remember that. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah.
So
hey, I have some more data for you.
I can't wait.
I pulled this at the end of the game, so it was up to the second accurate. With runners in scoring position, the Twins are hitting 122. That's 29th. With runners on,
who's worse? Is it the White Sox? Are they worse? Oh,
with runners on base at all, 165. That's 29th. Also, the White Sox are worse.
Right.
When ahead in counts, 159, 30th. With 2 outs, 136, 30th. With 2 strikes, 116, 30th. I mean, it won't stay this way. It won't even stay close to this way, but there's a difference between this is frustrating and this is going to continue to be this way all season long. And that is the eternal battle that I feel like I'm fighting on Twitter is, yeah, it stinks now, but what do you want me to do? Say that they need to launch someone into the sun? It's baseball and it's going to correct itself. It's over the long haul. These things come out in the wash, but that data is pretty sobering.
The poll ads are not going to pay for anybody to be launched into the sun, so we don't have to worry about that. That's too expensive. So there's that. And are any of those stats? Do the numbers? Any of the numbers don't start with 1? Did you notice any 2s in there? They're hitting 2 something with something in.
Well, I do have a couple more numbers here. So we talked about Paxton fastballs up, knuckle curves down. It's an interesting approach because the Twins are hitting 205 on fastballs up, but in the zone. So the 1, 2, 3 boxes on that 9 box. 22nd in MLB. And on all pitches up in the zone, 213, 21st, with a 570 OPS. So they're doing no damage on anything. And then it's becoming even more and more obvious or blatant the more narrow your sample size gets, which is also the more narrow people's focus get on, oh man, runner in scoring position came up empty again. The more the scrutiny comes, the worse the Twins have gotten this year.
Well, and it's not like I don't think the players are listening to all the criticisms that we're hearing. I'd hope not, but they are giving themselves the same kind of criticism. They're, nobody's more upset than the Twins' own hitters with how they're doing. So, we can complain all we want, or we can deflect the complaints all we want. The Twins are they're absorbing it, they're addressing it, and sometimes when you absorb too much, you get real soggy and you don't hit the ball anywhere. So I think I'd say we need to continue to be patient, but I don't know if we are patient in the first place, but we need to find some patience and just hang on a second and, remember where the offense placed in these kinds of stats last year and wait for it to rebound to those levels. And I think it will. We just have to wait for that to happen.
And I don't know if I said this already, but I'll say it again because it bears repeating. 13 outs for the Twins on 90-mile-per-hour batted balls or harder, and only 9 for the Dodgers, including 1 was a double play. So again, they're peppering the ball. The one that really stood out to me was in the bottom of the 6th. Carlos Correa led off by just absolutely smashing a liner up the middle. Almost took Paxton's cap off, very reminiscent of his Eagle encounter in 2018.
Yeah.
And, Captain America, Carlos Correa, trying to bring back some of those memories. But it was that kind of night. The Twins.
Who knocked off Brazier's glove? Who was that? Who hit the line drive up the middle? Somebody hit one of those too, and that was scary. I thought it went off his hand.
That was Julian.
That was Julian. That's right.
Yep, to lead off the inning. By the way, Brazier does not skip leg day. Holy smokes, that dude's lower half. He's built like he's got 2 tree trunks growing out of his hips.
That would be some kind of weird science if that were true, literally.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to think about it. But, as Pablo Lopez said, that's where when things are going rough, if you got big legs, you can get through it. So maybe the Twins hitters need to find their big legs.
Well, that could be true. Hey, let's take a quick second. PrizePicks has a word for you, and then we'll come home with the home stretch. We've got a little look-see at the next game in the series. It's game 2, Twins facing Tyler Glasnow. So things are getting no easy.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, is that all? So again, we're going to have a word from PrizePicks. PrizePicks is North America's largest DFS platform. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS because it's just you against the numbers. So you're not playing a whole bunch of players. You're not playing a whole bunch of people doing algorithms or mass entries or anything like that. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. Now, if you like to play the risk, you can do demon picks. Those are marked in red. They're scarier because they are big money picks. So they can accelerate your heartbeat, but they can also result in big money, as in like 100 times your money. So $10 down, $1,000 back in your pocket. So again, if you like that risk, demon picks are the way to go. But if you're more cautious like me, you can always go with a goblin pick marked green. It's easy to keep. It's designed to keep you in the green and allow you to keep getting those consistent victories. The payout is less than a demon pick, but your chances of keeping your winning streak going are much higher. So if you're into the NBA, we're coming down the home stretch here, just a handful of games left. You can pick on everything from 3-pointers made, turnovers committed. And for MLB, as we continue to roll on with the early season schedule, you can do more than or less than on pitcher strikeouts and first inning runs. So download the app today. Enter code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, the code is LOCKEDONMLB. It's all one word, and it's all in lowercase. Get that first deposit match up to $100. Join PrizePicks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, Dave Brown, we're coming down the home stretch here. Yeah, just one more quick nod to Bailey Ober. Rocco said Bailey really did his job, used all his pitches, and Bailey said that he was notified. He would, I think Dan Hayes of The Athletic asked him about this, but he would have gone back out there for the 6th if the Twins had pushed any more runs across. So at that point, it was 2-1. If he would have had a little more cushion, to the point where Ohtani with one swing or Freeman with one swing,
couldn't have killed you.
Wouldn't have hurt you that bad. I get it. So honestly, I know people are going to be mad. Only 68 pitches. Well, the tail of the tape is more along the lines of it doesn't matter if Bailey Ober gets beat on his 69th pitch or his 99th pitch. It's still all the same. And if you're going to face Shohei Ohtani for 3 straight times in a game, you probably better have some cushion.
I think, those are the magic. I think Shohei Ohtani those are the magic words as far as why it's okay that Rocco did what he did. I would just go back to kind of what I said maybe too quickly before. In another situation in August with a healthier pitching staff, assuming that they'll have it the way things have been going, I don't know. That's Theobar, that's Alcala, it's Duran, Stama. It's somebody more attuned to the higher leverage. So
yeah,
the only thing I would say is the only thing I would say is with the bullpen depth the way it was, Rocco going to it at that time isn't like how you drew it up in spring training or how it might be later in the season. You're using slightly lower leverage guys in a higher leverage situation. So that's, if you want an argument against doing what he did, maybe that's where it is. But it didn't work out anyway. They didn't score any runs, but but I'm not going to dig in too much.
Maybe you go with Griffin Jax instead of Jay Jackson in the 7th. But the thing is, Jackson didn't end up facing the top of the order until he had given up the homer to Outman that kind of pushed him into that part. So if you're going to bring in Jax to face 8-9-1, you're kind of thinking, well, 2, 3, 4, if you get through 8, 9, 1 is better for you. So again, like you could have brought Jax in because Jax in and Jax in. This is way too confusing. I apologize. You could have brought Griffin in.
Make sure your diction's right. Get your diction correct.
Yeah. So you could have brought Griffin in, but then you have to cover the 8th against Ohtani and Freeman. Okert has already pitched. So
Right.
you could have brought in Griffin in the 7th inning, but then Jackson pitches the 8th. I don't know. We talk about structuring the bullpen so that guys get the bulk, the meat of the order, the better bullpen guys, but it is what it is. Beyond that, I always say Rochester. St. Paul will be getting Caleb Thielbar and Josh Stelmont making appearances tomorrow. They're getting close. So when the Twins go back to 13 pitchers, which you were out in front of, you said you thought the Twins would go to 14 hitters for a bit, and they did with today's move, bringing up Miranda and putting Daniel Duarte on the IL. When they get back to 13, it will be one of those guys. And then since 2 guys are coming back, you'll probably see Cody Funderburk go back to St. Paul or something to that effect.
I liked, he didn't make the play. There was a play kind of hit just over the reaching glove of Miranda today at third. It looked like Ober was like, well, I could have caught that. I'm 6'9". He gave one of those kind of looks, but Miranda looked athletic over at third base.
Looked healthy.
Perhaps, yes, healthy and athletic, capable of playing the position. That's considering where the Twins were with that in February. That's another plus from the game. I think they're going to need him in some form or fashion here before it's all over. So that is another plus for me from tonight.
Well, I wouldn't sleep on him being the first baseman if Carlos Santana doesn't get going. Like I'm not saying he's close to, like you worry about him being finished. It's certainly possible. He turned 38 today, but the fluidity around first and third base is going to be something to watch. And I think you're right. I think Miranda is going to factor prominently in to that calculus. By the way, you can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Twins. I was using my app for that tonight. Excellent interface. Up next for the Twins, it's Louie Varland taking on Tyler Glasnow on Tuesday. First pitch, 6:40 p.m. at Target Field. Again, I love the 6:40 starts. Just gets us going a little bit earlier with these faster games besides. But here's the deal. Louie Varland's brother, Gus, had his contract purchased on Saturday. They sent him back to Oklahoma City today. So he doesn't even get to be with the Dodgers against his brother in their hometown. He got sent back. I mean, it was just like, wow. I was looking at that. I thought, that's really doing a guy dirty, don't you think?
It's funny how there's such a thin line. We worry about Louie's future and hope that he's a rotation guy. Gus, on the other hand, is older, but he's not quite as talented, and he's going to be one of these guys, hopefully until he figures out something a little more, where he's being shuttled back and forth. He's he's, as Mongo would say in Blazing Saddles, he's only pawn in Game of Life. And it's kind of a tough existence. It's hard to be a professional athlete when one day you're in Oklahoma City, the next day you're at Target Field, and then the next day you're back in Oklahoma City or wherever that team is right now. So that's a tough life, and you got to be just as much of a professional in those situations as Louie does on the Twins in the rotation.
They're in El Paso.
Well, it's high out there. I know about that.
I made it up.
It's a high place.
I made it up. Tyler Glasnow, obviously, I think this is start 3 for him with the Dodgers. Velo's good. Strikeouts aren't there yet, but they said something interesting on the postgame. I think it was either Justin Morneau or Tim Laudner, but he said, maybe sometimes facing a good pitcher is what shakes you free. Like baseball is so weird that way. Guys will wear tall socks after wearing short socks. They'll do whatever it takes to get out of a slump. And in some cases, the Twins have hit some really good pitchers really well in recent years. Chris Sale comes to mind, a few other guys like that. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. But Varland is going to be tasked with keeping the Dodgers in the yard. The Dodgers are 5th in MLB in homers per game. I did per game because they've played more games, so it wouldn't be fair to show that they were first in home runs. But again, like 1.31 homers per game. Varland is going to be in for a tough test, but that was also true for Bailey Ober coming in tonight, and I think he passed that test.
Does target field play smaller when it's not damp? And like tonight, there are a few home runs, and that maybe surprised me a little bit with the conditions. Was it surprising? Should I be surprised?
I think so. I think, though, right-handed power down that line plays pretty well. I had assumed that right field power would translate better from the metronome to target field. We're in year 15 of the target field experience, by the way, which is insane to think about. I thought, power to right field from lefties would be more of a thing, but it just hasn't been relative to.
It doesn't seem like a brand new ballpark, but it still seems like 15 years is too many.
Yep.
It's I think tomorrow the Glasnow experience tomorrow, depending on when you're listening, watching, hoping, praying. I think the Twins' old friend, the base on balls, it hasn't really helped them out this year, but I think that's where you get to Glasnow. I think you get him throwing too many pitches. You get him maybe to make a mistake with somebody on base, and finally, the 120 with runners in scoring position or whatever it was you said goes up to 199. That's what I like what Tim Laudner or whomever said about sometimes if a good pitcher is off a little bit, you get a little confidence that way. You know that their stuff is going to be good.
Yep.
But maybe it won't be crisp. Maybe it'll be a little wild. Take advantage of the wildness if it's in the strike zone and make them pay.
Walk on the wild side. Yeah, I think I have a feeling that I'm going to text you about 7:30 tomorrow and say, hey, I think the Twins have a tell on Glasnow because they'll lay off some of his stuff, walk and get some hits and chase him early. But we'll see if that happens. But for Dave Brown, this is Brandon Warren signing off saying thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Locked On Twins. And we'll see ya tomorrow.